So if you know me and you've been watching some of the videos that I've been posting, you'll know that I basically went from zero. I started off with zero experience in marketing, and now I'm making $100,000 per year. And today I literally only worked about 1 hour, and I got paid for 8 hours of work. So I want to actually go back to when I first started working about what was it, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was working in customer service. I was doing hospitality, and I was actually doing things like bartending and customer service. I was a cashier basically, and I was making close to $25 per hour back then. So I was working for $25 per hour, and usually if I had a shift, it was about 5 hours. So I worked a 5-hour shift, and out of that 5 hours, I probably spent about 4 hours actually working, and the other hour or so I was a bit relaxed. So out of that 5 hours, I spent 4 hours doing the customer service, cleaning tables, packing the fridges. I was actually doing work 4 out of those 5 hours. Now today, I'm making $45 per hour, and I had a shift today, 8 hours, and I only worked about 1 hour. So compare that to before. I'm actually working less hours and being paid more per hour. Now you might be wondering that doesn't really make sense. How can you be working less hours based on the hourly rate? How can you be working less hours and be paid more? And this is something that is very important that you kind of have to understand, is that when it comes to certain jobs and business, it's all supply and demand basically. But if you can do something that is worth a lot to someone, and it's worth a lot to someone, then it doesn't matter how many hours it takes, as long as you get that thing done. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's say you had cancer. Let's just for fuck's sake, let's just say you have cancer, right? You have severe cancer, and let's say I can get rid of your cancer, but it'll take about 1 hour, and I'll charge you $10,000. Now, does it honestly matter that it takes 1 hour? Does that matter? It doesn't make a difference. Someone else can say, I can get rid of your cancer for $10,000, but it will take 5 hours. Which one would you rather choose, honestly? Right? So the decision is obvious. If you had cancer, you want it to get removed as fast as possible, right? And that's the same thing with all different types of business or marketing or whatever you want to call it. But it's the same thing, and that's the same thing with marketing. If you develop a specific skill set, you can solve problems for people that they really need solved. Then they don't care that they don't care how many hours you work. Basically, it doesn't matter to them how many hours you work. All that matters is results. They care about results. If you can get people results, then it doesn't matter how many hours that you tell them that you work. It doesn't matter, right? That's my whole point. The quote unquote time you put into something doesn't mean anything. Let's say what's a good example? Let's say I got rid of your cancer and it took me 5 hours, versus I got rid of your cancer and it took me 15 seconds. Does it really matter? It doesn't matter if it took 5 hours. You probably don't care how many hours it takes. You just want to get it removed, right? So that's my whole point. And usually the faster you can do it, the better it is. So that's my whole point about this video, is that hours doesn't mean jack shit. It doesn't mean anything. You tell your boss, I work 10 hours. It doesn't matter. Did you get them results? That's all that matters, okay? Now, in order for you guys to understand this concept a bit better, let's say, for example, you compare a very, very common job that is very respected, right? Someone who's a doctor. Doctor is probably one of the best paid jobs in the world. Doctors can be making up to $200,000 per year, $300,000, even more, right? Everyone knows that doctors are one of the best paid jobs in the world. Now, who do you think makes more, a doctor or someone who sells water? Someone who sells bottles of water. Who do you think makes more? It's pretty obvious. The doctor obviously makes more. People who sell bottles of water, they are they're usually in third world countries. They don't have any skills. They didn't go to a fancy university. They probably can't speak very well, proper English very well. Obviously, this is a stereotype, but this is just, I don't want to sound insensitive. Obviously, there's people that sell bottles of water. They can speak English, but this is just a generalization to illustrate my point. There are people that are living across the world that sell bottles of water and they make less than doctors, right? That's common sense. But now imagine that 90% of the world's water supply disappeared. So you go to your tap, you want to turn on some water, that water is gone. You want to take a shower, there's no water. Now ask yourself, who do you think would make more? The person who is selling bottles of water could easily make 10 times what a doctor makes now. And they didn't go to a fancy university to get a fancy degree. They don't have skills and they probably can't even speak proper English. So how is it that this person who has no skills, no fancy degree, just sells bottles of water for a living can now make more than a doctor? How is this possible? Supply and demand. Now that there is no more water, the demand has increased tremendously. So everyone across the world urgently needs water. Everyone needs water day to day. They need water to drink. They need water to wash their clothes, to take showers, etc. Right? So now there's a huge demand for water, whereas for doctors, it's not as much. And that's how that works, supply and demand. And now it's the exact same thing with digital marketing. There's a huge demand for digital marketing. Businesses in different industries, different sectors, different sizes need people to do their digital marketing. So that's basically how I was able to get paid six figures without ever going to university to get a fancy degree to do any of that, because I learnt a very high demand skill and I basically learnt it on my own, and that's how I was able to do it.